In the movies, this is where I would call out with a confused hello, but by now I was way too freaked out to break the silence of the room, to draw attention to myself. I closed my eyes tight, took several deep breaths, willing my pulse to slow down. I closed the door and took a deep breath. As if on cue, somewhere from the dark end of the office came a rustling like papers falling off of a desk. My jaw ached from how tightly I was clenching my teeth. I cautiously stretched my neck around the wall into the darkness, but all I could see were the windows on the far end. Enough was enough. Prank, break-in, alien invasion, whatever it was, it didn't matter. I was done. I had no intention of spending another 2 hours jumping at every sound, every shadow. I moved towards my desk, forcing myself to walk casually. As I passed a coworker's desk, then, I heard the distinctive ding of their computer booting up. I paused and stepped back to the desk. The monitor was on, which I knew a second ago it hadn't been. While I tried to remember if I'd accidentally moved the mouse and woken the computer up, a window popped up in the middle of the screen. I found myself seeing front view of the server room again, the view you would get if you were standing in the door looking in. The image was fuzzy and the grayish green of night vision. I turned desperately to the server room again and saw that it was empty but for the racks of servers and the blinking lights. I was frustrated. I was scared. What was going on? This had to be an old feed. It was the only explanation. Someone had recorded this hours ago just to mess with me, just to play with my head. It was all just a sick joke. It only got more sick when the windows blinked and the video changed again. It was me. My face stared back at me from the screen, or something like my face. It couldn't be me. The me on the screen was green and grainy and screaming. There was no sound from the speakers on the desk, but my face was contorted into panicked horror. I could see my hands moving quickly in and out of the frame on either side as if I was smacking against a wall. Tears were streaming down my face, and it looked like... It almost seemed like I was screaming for help. Then the me on the screen lurched violently to one side, like I was trying to hit something out of view, jostling the camera. I screamed and took 3 terrified steps back and tripped on my untied shucks. I hit the ground hard and was already scrambling back to my feet when I heard the distinctive symphony of computers dinging to life all across the office. The glow of computer screens painted the dark office in a haunting gray tone. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see the video window at the center of every computer screen with me at the center of it, pounding, screaming, crying, scratching, pleading for help. All around me, my face was staring at me, silently screaming to let her out. I crashed into my desk, knocking over my monitor in the process. I heard the sickening crunch of it cracking. I didn't even look back. I just snatched up my keys and my backpack and ran. The exit seemed 1,000 miles away, my face silently screaming at me from every monitor I passed. I could barely see where I was going through the tears in my eyes. I was almost to the door when I heard the thing that brought me to a skidding stop. I didn't want to stop. I shook my head vigorously, trying to will myself to not have heard it. Instead, it came again. The unmistakable sound of knuckles rapping desperately on glass. I don't know how long I stood there while the room spun around me. Too long, that's for sure. I knew I should keep running, but I turned my head instead, back to face the server room. How could I leave someone behind there? I asked myself. There was someone there. Someone stood behind the door to the server room, pressed against the glass, pounding furiously with all their might. I felt my keys drop and my bag after them. I felt something behind my eye pop, and I screamed. At first, I thought I was looking at my own reflection. Then the me behind the glass screamed too, banging, kicking, slapping at the barrier between us, screaming something I couldn't hear. I kept backing away until I backed into something cold and spongy like moss-covered stone. Just like that, the me behind the glass snapped her jaw shut. Stiffly, seeming against my will, I turned. It was more than 9 feet tall. Its head touched the ceiling, and its body moved and swayed like cobwebs. Its eyes were sunken pits with yellow pinpricks at their center. Wiry, seaweed-like hair came down over its face, and it was smiling at me. A huge, strangled, frenzied smile with a mouth full of hundreds of cracked, jagged teeth. Somewhere, distantly in the back of my head, I realized what my double was screaming. She was telling me to run. The room exploded with the sounds of my screams and the cacophonous roar of the server room. It's cold where I am. The constant howl of the fans blow dry, frigid air. When people started showing up to the office the next morning, I banged on the glass to get their attention. When it seemed like no one could hear me, I started screaming at the top of my lungs, slamming my body against the door. I broke a tooth throwing myself against the glass. I screamed for help, begging them to help me, to please let me out. I pulled server blades from their racks and threw them at the glass, but still no one even turned in my direction. I watched as my supervisor found my monitor knocked over and my backpack and keys on the floor. I watched him asking around, I guessed seeing if anyone had seen me. I screamed that I was here. I was right next to him. Turn around. I'm here. Just look. I pounded and slapped and scratched at the glass wall. When the police came and examined my desk for clues to my disappearance, I was smashing computer equipment against the glass, sobbing. My heavy, wet, choking breaths muffled by the droning roar of the fans. By the time my weeping mother came to collect my bag, I'd given up. I sat with my back against the server rack and watched as she buried her face in my backpack and shook with huge, racking sobs. I'm still sitting, still watching the world go about its workday, completely oblivious to my presence here. Turns out a while can be a long time. Eventually I'll be forgotten entirely. The IT girl who went missing one night. It's easy to forget, what with their schedules. These are busy people, after all. I can tell by the insectile ways they buzz around their desks. It's easy to forget when you busy yourself with mindless tasks. Perhaps one day I'll forget myself.
I know you all enjoyed that as much as I did. Thanks, Lisa, for sharing your story with us, and for reminding us that the dark, cold places in the world are never quite as far away as we might like to think. With modern distractions like computers, smartphones, and the vivid figments of imagination brought on by affordable hallucinogens, it's easy to lose yourself. That's as true here in Alexandria as it is out in any big city. If there's one thing exploring the archives has taught me, it's that everybody's got a story. I'll bet you've got one too. Has something strange or unexplainable happened to you? Have you ever wanted to air your dirty laundry on AU radio? Send it along to alexandriaarchives@gmail.com and we just might share it. We're all Wendigos here, right? No judgments. Except for you. Yes, you know who you are, and we are all judging you. Once again, thanks for joining us. I hope we've made the witching hour just a little more lively for all you night gaunts out there. If you like what you heard, please join us next time, same hour, same channel. You can keep up with us on Facebook on the Alexandria Archives page, and on Twitter at WowSignal. That's WHAU Signal. Like us, tweet at us, share us with your friends. The more the merrier. Now get some sleep, would you? It's dark out there.